Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Why every saltwater angler needs a weak knot? Luke, what the heck is going on here, everybody? Joe Simons, like diamonds, Salt Strong. We got Luke. What's up, dude?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of knot tests, and I have this new leader assembly trick that has skyrocketed my results, and it's just helped for easier fishing and really more efficient fishing. So less time rigging, more time fishing, which equals more fish caught on average. So it's totally opposite than what I used to. I used to try to get the strongest knot for every connection. And then once I realized, hey, like I'm wasting a lot of time retying leaders out on the water, let me purposefully tie the knot closest to the lure, slightly weaker than everything else, and life got easier.
All right, this just goes against everything else we've talked about for 10 years. It goes against our name, Salt Strong, about having the strongest knot. You want the best knot. We do knot contest with the strongest knot. And you're now telling us we need a weak knot.
Well, it's strategic knots, right? So there needs to be one weak one. Assuming you're like most saltwater anglers that use thin lines, so thin line for the main line to get as long as casting this as possible. The thinner the line, the farther it casts. It's science. There's no debate there, and it, definitely for spinning. But the same is true for bait casting as well. We've done a lot of casting contests over the years. And but with saltwater fish, especially snook and tarpon, and just the fact that we're fishing on oysters a lot, it's very important to have the business end, right? Let me just go ahead and take this off. This end that's closest to the fish, that's going to be on the bottom the most, and when you're fighting the fish, it's going to have the abrasion from the fish's mouth against it. So this line needs to be much stronger than the main line. And if we maximize every knot in our connection, the weakest knot is going to be on the side of the leader that's away from the lure. So if you get stuck on the bottom, then when you break off, the weakest knot is gonna fail, and now you lost your lure and your whole leader assembly, which means you have to retie it on the water, which just takes time. It's a pain in the butt. But if you're strategic, make it so that this very last knot is still strong, right? You don't want to have like a terrible knot that gives way, but you want to purposely tie it to be just barely weaker than the rest of the line assembly. And now you'll never have to retie a leader ever again on the water from a break off. Obviously, if you catch a bunch of fish and you have to keep whittling it down, you'll eventually have to. But as far as getting broken off, now when I'm stuck on the bottom, not that big of a deal. I just pull. Hopefully it comes off. If it doesn't, the break is always, I should say always, but like 90% of the time, it's right here on this knot. So it just got easier. Life got easier. So now to retie, I just tie a lure back on, and it takes 2 seconds. Back in action.
All right. Well, let's talk about the whole leader line assembly. But it got me thinking. God, who did I run into recently that was just telling me how much line they've lost, like in mangrove trees? And I had the same reaction. I was like, "What? How?" And I still don't know how. But apparently, they were not able to break away their lure. I know
he's like cutting out the reel.
I guess I don't know. I was kind of mind blown, but and we've seen it, right? You've been in certain types of structure, docks, mangroves, where you see all this line. You're like, what is going on? But I digress. Talk about the whole assembly from the braid on what you're doing. There's probably still people here confused, saying, what the heck is he talking about?
All right, so I'm using the more advanced assembly, and so I'll just talk about the basics first, and then the advanced will be secondary. So number one is we want to have the line, as I mentioned before, we want to have our main line, the line that's in our spool, to be as thin as possible, the thinnest we can get away with. And so typically for me, for my normal inshore setups, 10-pound braid is like my norm. If I'm fishing, for redfish, like slot-sized reds, slot-sized snook, and trout, and the time I go up is if I'm specifically like going right against hard structure, like docks. If I'm skipping under docks, 10 pounds is not enough. 20 pounds is what I go with. And then for leader line, anywhere where there's snook territory, I'm using at least 20 pound mono leader. If it's just trout and redfish, I'll do 15 mono. Either way, my main line is thinner and weaker than my leader line, right? The line closest to the lure is beefed up so that I can handle the abrasion from the fish as well as the bottom, right? I fish a lot of oysters, a lot of sharp shell bottom, and fishing a jig around that, it's when the line gets damaged from just impacting the bottom. And then obviously for those of us who like snook fishing, they are very good at wearing through line. Their mouths are very coarse, sandpaper-like, and their head shakes will literally just chew right through. Even 30-pound line isn't enough sometimes. So long story short, the benefit of being strategic with knots is to purposely, if you tie a good knot with everything, then the knot on this 30-pound leader is definitely not going to fail before the knot on the 10-pound braid, right? That's just like a good knot versus a good knot. The one on the weakest line is gonna fail, right? It's just that simple. So when using leaders like this, we just need to make, I do a loop knot. This is a non-slip loop knot. Most people do 4 twists around, which is stronger. I just do 2. 2 has been the number for me. First of all, it's smaller. It's smaller. It's more like fish can't see it as well. And it took the strength down just enough to now be just barely the weakest point in my line assembly. And obviously, whatever lines you're using, it might change. You could use something else. I just recommend for everybody to change, at least to check it. And it's easy to check. You can just, hook on to a fence post or something that won't move and pull back until something fails and then see what failed. And keep weakening your end knot until this one is the one that fails. And just take one less wrap of whatever knot you're using. But make sure you don't want to see the pigtail, right? If you see the pigtail in the line, that means the knot slipped out. No, never ever use a knot that slips. You want it to break, but just break at a little bit lower strength.
I like to do 3. First, thou shalt take out the holy pen. Then shalt thou count to 3. No more, no less. 3 shall be the number thou shalt count, and the number of the counting shall be 3. 4 shall not count, neither count 2, excepting that them proceed to 3. 5 is right out.
Monty Python.
Oh, yeah. All right. So I guarantee there's still some people saying, what the heck is he talking about? So like the FG now, let's go back a little bit higher on this leader line assembly. Yep. So you got 10-pound braid.
Yeah, so the light braid, and yeah, so you just need to, the core story is just be strategic with what knots you're tying, and the one that needs to be maximized, right? The knots that need to be maximized are the knots on the weakest line. Obviously, that's you always got to focus on, okay, what is the chain, right? The weakest part of a chain is the weakest link. That's where it's going to break, and so for the normal saltwater line assembly, the weakest link is right here, the braid to leader connection. This is the thinner braid to the stronger leader. That's going to be the weakest link. This is the knot that deserves the most attention, the most time, and the most care. And this is the knot that I've done the most testing on because it's the most important one. And for many years, I was a double uni fan. I was told that it's 100% knot. Everybody was using it. I believed it. And for many years, even while doing tournaments, and then I remember I was telling Joe when we started Salt Strong, I started doing knot contests because I wanted, first of all, I made a knot that was a little bit different and it actually was better than the double uni. So I started doing knot contest to prove that the one I made was the strongest. And I came across this FG knot. You can see it on my shirt. I was actually wearing this shirt on the viral video of tying it. But this is not, it's much thinner than any other knot I've ever seen. It's like a Chinese finger trap is technically how it works. But what it does, and this is why I love it so much, its design is to protect a thin braid against a stronger leader. That's literally, it does so well, performs so well in knot contest because it spreads the tension load of the braid specifically. It doesn't do anything for the leader. It's all about protecting the braid. And it spreads that tension load of the braid across this long strand where all other knots like the double uni, the Albright, Crazy Alberto, all these different knots, they're still good knots. They won't break, but they break at a much lower tolerance compared to the FG because they don't protect the braid as well. They have a hard turn. Any knot with a hard turn, like a stopper, like the double uni is basically two uni knots stopping together. The blood knot is like two clinch knots stopping together. If you have a stopper, then that's going to be the weak point. That's going to create a weaker load to break the knot.
And why?
So this FG knot is basically where in my opinion, the line braid to leader knot is the one that needs the most attention. Maximize it so that you can still use a good knot on the business end, but it'll still be a little bit weaker than the one on the lighter braid. That makes sense.
Yeah, I have two questions. Why is any knot like the uni or blood that has some sort of turn, why is that weaker?
Because a turn in the knot, right? Like just think about anything like a rope. Like if everything is being constricted and at one point, like line is designed to be pulled, right? It's designed to be pulled, and that's basically its power is how much strength, how much tension it can hold. But when you start contorting that power, right? If you contort it and squeeze one little point, then that's going to be a weak point. That's literally going to create a weak point in the line because now you have tensions coming from both the pull as well as being constricted. It's going to cause a weak point. And the FG knot, the ring and why it's good, and we have a bunch of videos showing how to tie it. But what it does is it has a bunch of coils, and those coils basically spread the load. So there's not one constriction point. It's basically being spread across this entire little span. I shouldn't say little. It's still relatively small, but it's like 10 times bigger than the tension load spread on other knots like the double uni and that. So in testing, it ranges between 20 and over 30% stronger than those other popular knots. And at the same time, it's thinner. So now I can tie this one little knot. I tie from home. I cast through the guides every single cast, and I hardly ever have to retie it on the boat. People say, I don't do the FG knot because it takes so long to tie. You should never have to tie on the water as long as you're strategic in your other knots to make sure that this one never fails. And so, yeah, I cast the knot guys every time, no issues. And yeah, it is shockingly strong. Again, I've constantly looking for better knots, and I've yet to find one after testing an absolute ton of them.
So playing devil's advocate on the knot, what we're using, a non-slip loop knot. Yep. Why not tie the strongest knot you can? Just have all great knots and never have to break off ever.
Well, if you're going after structure-oriented fish like ambush predators, redfish, sea trout, snook, flounder, especially going after grouper and snapper and stuff. They're living next to a structure. The more structure, the more fish. And whoever's putting lures or baits as close to that structure as possible is going to catch the most fish. And so to maximize catch results, you need to be fishing close to structure. If you're not getting stuck on structure every so often, even when using, like I've been using this shrimp lure, this weedless prawn, and I've been actually catching a ton of sheep's head on it because now that I'm going weedless, I actually embed the tip of the hook in there. This is it's basically a type of jig head that was started in bass fishing. And because it's weedless, and you can kind of see it better in the background, now I'm casting like right into the mangroves. I'm bouncing this through rocks, like through, down rock jetties. You can go right along the rocks with very low risk of getting snagged. But even when being weedless, if you're fishing very tight to structure, every once in a while it's going to get snagged. It's just how it works, right? It can get snagged, like wedged down in a rock crevice, or sometimes the hook might actually pull out, or you hook a fish and it gets down under a ledge, and now you unfortunately just have to break off sometimes. And so knowing that it's going to happen, at least on occasion, we might as well plan for it because this knot at the end after practice, no more than 10 seconds. Very quick knot, especially if we just do 2 turns. Very quick. I can do it in the dark. It's super easy. The FG knot, I would not want to do in the dark, even though I've tied it a million times and I can do it in about a minute. I still wouldn't want to do it in the dark, and I never have to because I just make sure that this is not the weak point in the line assembly.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still saying be prepared. to hit bottom to snag something, but tie a knot so good that you pull the structure up with the lure. No?
Good luck. You're welcome to. While you're retying the whole line assembly, I'll be catching more fish. So,
so I get it. Your point is it's going to happen. If you're just going out and catching trout on a flat, this is probably irrelevant in general, right? But if you're going out and catching trophy fish, legit fish in structure, and maybe even skipping underneath docks or underneath mangroves, you need to be prepared for it. And so you're not saying tie a truly weak knot, just be more strategic, right? And I guess that also means let's talk about the whole leader assembly, because you haven't talked about the advanced, but that also means maybe do a slightly longer leader in general, so that if you do lose a lure or a hook or whatever, that you're not starting with just 18 inches and now you're down to 12, that you're starting with 2-3 feet sometimes or more, and that way
I do about 30 inches is the average. But so even with trout fishing, you say it's still a weak knot. Like for this, it's a 30-pound mono for the leader on a 10-pound braid. To make sure that the braid breaks, the braid doesn't break, right? This knot actually does have to be pretty weak. Like this knot, like this braid, the FG knot on a 10-pound braid with the Daiwa 8 grand that I like best, it breaks anywhere from 22 to 26 pounds, which is a lot of power. That's very good for a 10-pound line. But 22 pounds is not good breaking strength for a 30-pound mono leader, right? So you actually need, I call it a weak knot. You need a strategically weak knot to make sure that this 30-pound leader breaks at ideally like 21 pounds, right? Like just barely under the other one. And for me, it's the 2-turn non-slip loop knot. Will get it like just to the point where I almost always recover the little leader assembly. I only lose the hook or the lure, which is still not good. But again, as long as we keep it close, we want to get it very close to the leader knot, just not quite there. That's why, again, the easiest way to know your threshold, because every line's different and knots behave a little bit different on different lines. Whichever lines you're using, again, just secure it safely to like a fence post or something and pull and see where the break happens. And you'll be able to, after a few tries, you'll be able to start whittling down and getting the right power system.
Cool. Let's talk about the advanced leader. What you're doing there. The
advanced leader, and this is what has really prevented me from never having to retie my FG knot on the water is the whole idea with the advanced leader. You just have to learn one more knot. So a lot of people don't want to do that. I understand. But the advantage has been very eye-opening. I learned this from Peter Deeks, and this is he uses it for live bait fishing, where again the whole macro view is we want our lines to be as thin as possible at every section of the line while still having the ability to land big fish. And he has some legit records for, I think his clients has like one of the longest sea trout ever caught. He catches a ton of snook over 50 inches. My personal biggest fish was with him is 45 inches. I've never seen one that big. But what I noticed he was doing is he had a little, it's called a bite tippet. And it's basically the last 6 to 8 inches or so was a very thick line, and everything else was thinner. So he was going with like a 40 or 50 pound leader for like bigger snook. But then he would go down on the rest of the leader was only like 20 pounds, 20 to 30. And then he'd go down to a 15 to 20 pound braid. So he basically had the beefed up system, the beefed up line right at the end of the entire line system, and would gradually go thinner and thinner, knowing that, especially big snook, they can feel everything so well, and they're smart. And so those big fish, if he did the full length of 50 pound, like the full leader of 50 pound, those snook can feel it and or see it, and they're not going to feed. But if it's only 6 inches, even if they see it, they're not scared of something that small. Like that doesn't really register as danger. And so the catch rate goes up. And so I was like, okay, it clearly is working for live bait. Let me try this with lures. And as soon as I did, my catch rate for overslot snook, redfish, even tarpon, triple tail, cobia, everything is improved. And especially when using these prawn lures, now I can get down. I'm basically bouncing them through the thickest structure, even like reef fishing, I'll bounce right through the thickest part of the reefs. And a lot of these fish aren't scared of something down there because nothing that has hurt them so far has actually been down that close. And again, my catch rate has gone up while my time tying lines and leaders on the boat has significantly gone down, because now I have this other knot that is now connecting the weaker leader side to the stronger leader side. So when I do break off now, depending on what line I'm using, either this very far one, the loop knot that's to the lure will break, or the blood knot that connects my stronger leader to the main leader. What never breaks is the FG knot to the braid. Follow me? So now, like, even with going after snook, a lot of times snook you can actually see this line's a little bit abrased. I took the snook fishing. So after snook starts abrasing the bite tippet, I can have a couple reties per bite tippet, and then I just retie the bite tippet, which means that I'm really not using much of the main leader up as far as having to retie. So long story short, I rarely ever have to tie the FG knots on the boat. The more time consuming knot, it's always either at the very end of the bite tippet or I'm just retying a new bite tippet. And after a little bit of practice, the blood knot is super easy to tie. Again, it's not quite 10 seconds, but it's no more than 20 after some practice.
You mentioned Captain Peter Deeks, multi-world record holder. Do you think he would agree with you on this weak knot with live bait, or would he, as Monty Python, say, "I will fart in your general direction. Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberry"?
Yeah, he probably wouldn't. But yeah, he's, and again, when and as this time,
and he wouldn't. Why? Because he doesn't care about just losing a hook. He'd be like, I don't want to lose a fish. I don't care about a hook.
No, it's still time retying leaders, but he's going from a 50-pound bite tippet to a 20-pound main leader. So this blood knot is going to be the one that breaks. So it doesn't really matter. Like, it's really hard to get a 50-pound line to be as weak as a 20-pound line. Like that's almost impossible. Like that's a terrible knot, which it'll probably slide out before it broke. I don't ever recommend knots that slide out. So he's just banking. He's just retying the bite tippets is my guess. But I guarantee you, he's not putting much care on what that knot is. The knot at the end of the bite tippet. I'm sure he's not putting much care in it because he knows it doesn't matter, right? That knot on a 50-pound end is definitely not going to be the weak point in the line assembly. So why bother trying to get a super strong knot?
This is eye-opening because I think we all just kind of assume that, you just want the strongest always. I could argue still do, because you don't want bad knots. You prefer not to lose a fish or a lure or even a hook for that matter.
You just want to be strategic. You just want to. It's just being strategic because back in the day in college or in high school, whatever, we could fish all day long and like it didn't really care. Okay, I have to spend another couple minutes retying a whole leader assembly. Okay, who cares? But like now, like I'm like usually fishing in 2-hour windows on a good day, sometimes 3. And so like every second counts. So I don't want to be spending any time other than necessary on rigging, on like re-rigging while on the water. I want to be fishing. And so this little setup, again, just purposely tying a little bit weaker knot next to the lure has definitely saved very precious time, I should say. And for that reason alone, I recommend it. But again, just want to caveat, test your lines out. Make sure that you don't want those pigtails at the end. Some people say my knots never fail because when they see it, it's a sharp break. The knot broke. I guarantee it. It's very rare that the line breaks away from the knot unless the line got compromised, of course. But the knots do create weak points in the lines, and different knots create different weak points at different strengths. And so it's just a matter of choosing the right knot for whichever lines you're using to make sure that you can strategically cause the break at the right zone. Because again, if you're fishing open water, it doesn't matter. But if you're fishing around docks, jetties, any sort of bottom structure, it's not when you get stuck on the bottom. It's not if, it's when. And again, you might as well maximize your time.
Yeah, good look at the T-bone by sticking my head.
Oh, Tommy boy, what are you got some good quotes today, Joe?
Yeah, I'm just feeling it. No sleep last night. Jackson had 104.4 temperature. Like the flu bug is hit, and we were up last night. I think I'm just yeah. Anywho, that's good. Yeah, I mean, the saying goes, you can't catch a fish if you don't have a line in the water. Like, it's literally impossible. So, I mean, you're talking about just making sure you always got lines in the water, at least maximizing, your time and not wasting, even if you had to retie 3 times. I mean, that, and you got to go many times, find your tackle bag and you get everything out, cut the right amount of leader line material. It's not just 60 seconds to tie the FG knot. There's a lot that can go into that. So
yeah, and yeah, it's not like it's gonna be a game changer like every single trip, but over time, like over a year or 2 years or however long, it's a big deal. And it's just even just the fun part of it alone, right? Nobody likes sitting there tying knot out in the hot sun. And just to minimize the time doing the stuff we don't enjoy doing, like why not? As I said, it just takes a little bit of work up front to make sure that whichever lines you're using, you have the right breaking points. And if you want to know the lines that I use, I'll put links down below to the reef setup, as well as the typical inshore setup. And then more recently, I've been doing sight fishing with the little ultralight. This is a 1,000 size reel with 6-pound braid. And I have the bite tippet set up for long lines. So this is a 12-pound, so 6-pound braid, 12-pound main leader to a 20-pound bite tippet. And I've been catching overslot reds with this. This has been the best winter I've ever had for upper and overslot redfish. Sight fishing too, and it's because I've used the whole line thing. We're keeping it as thin as possible, everywhere as possible. Now I'm not spooking these fish, even when it's dead calm, clear water, like down in Charlotte Harbor, or even Tampa Bay, where fish are very spooky. Going down a thinner line and being strategic on every section of the line has had a significant advantage. And again, even when I do get a cast too far in the mangroves or under a hook something on the bottom, when I break off, it's almost always this loop knot. If it's not the loop knot, it's at least the blood knot, which connects the 2 leader sections. It's never the FG knot. Again, unless my braid got compromised, then it's, of course, the weak spot's gonna break. So I'll put links down below for all those combos.
Cool. And I know you've been doing some of these knot contests or knot wars, whatever you're going to call them. You did one on the toit knot. Yeah. What's up next? What are you working on?
So I'm doing the toit knot on braid because the toit knot it's like the Palomar. It's basically a snug knot that's really designed for like connecting to a hook or maybe a leader. And I've been doing with monolines, really for other people because it's basically the knot that I don't care about is what I've been testing. I've done the least amount of testing on those. So anyhow, this toit knot is basically like an improved version of the improved tri-lead knot. And it's coming very close to the Palomar for strength with monoline. So my next test, the Palomar barely beat it. The next test is the toit knot versus the Palomar, and I'm doing a 3-way test. So toit knot versus the Palomar versus the uni knot for connecting to a hook or to a swivel. So braid to hook or swivel, which of those 3 knots are best? I'm 95% sure it's not going to be the Palomar. Palomar works great for mono and fluoro. Doesn't work so good with braid. The uni knot has been the best I've tested so far, but this toit knot, it might surpass the uni. So that's what I'll be testing. And again, all the results will be on saltstrong.com in the knot section.
Toit like a tiger. Another movie quote. Austin Powers and Fodger.
It wasn't as good as the other 2 quotes, but that one's not too bad.
Okay.
Which Fodger saved it.
Yeah. Oh, father. Fodger. Dad. All right, cool. When is that black lure? Do we get a name yet? I saw you
Not yet. Yeah, we have a contest going out for the name of this new color. It's black, so it's jet black with some silver sparkles in it. And this is basically it was my best bass color I've ever had over the years, and it got discontinued. Renegade, a company called Renegade, was making worms out of it. And so we're talking about colors to make. I was like, hey, this one color worked amazing for bass. Like, I bet you it'll work pretty good for red, snook, and trout, and it absolutely does. I've been testing it, and this is basically what I've been catching a bunch of those upper and over slot reds with sight fishing. It has been really impressive, and yeah, we just don't yet have a color for it, but it'll be in fishstrong.com, our online store, in early March. So it'll be here, fairly soon, and of course we'll have a color name by then. But you'll see the pictures of it, whatever color it is. It's the black one with silver specks in it.
Gonna be awesome. Cool. All right. And if you haven't joined the Insider Club, come join us. Get 20 to 30% off everything, including this black lure, rods, the reels, the travel rod, which has been a huge seller since we launched that. The Otis 2500. I heard a rumor Luke might be looking at another new version of the Otis, or a new reel we'll be working on for later this year. A lot of good stuff happening. And the tackle tester starting in March. We're going to change it up. So the tackle tester is where every month we send out free tackle for you to try out. And we just want results back. Tell us how it worked. We're always ensuring that everything in our store does work and that you guys are catching fish with it, or we don't sell it, we pull it, refuse to sell it, whatever. So the only bad news is, because it's always been limited on how many of the free items we have, we usually keep it open for a day or two. In March, so starting next month, we are going to try to open up for the whole month, or if we run out, so we're going to try to get a whole lot more to serve more you members. So this will enable people who are out of town or missed the email or whatever it was, still get in on it. Also, it'll enable people who join the club after we launch it, because that's also like, oh, I just joined and I must have just missed it. I got to wait another month. So that way, we'll try to serve as many people as possible. So make sure to be a member in the month of March if you're not already. And a lot of cool stuff coming with Smart Fishing Spots. We are changing the UX, which is the whole experience, big time, where it'll be so much easier to use, so much more intuitive. And so thank you for all your feedback. Keep it coming. The community is the best place to leave all of that. So let us know how we can help you or serve you. And if you're not a member, go to saltwater.com and you'll see a place to join the Insider Club. We'd love to have you in there. Anything else, Luke?
No, that covers it. Yeah, just recommend paying attention to the lines and knots. It's the one thing that we actually have complete control over while fishing. So we might as well maximize it and strategically maximize it too. So hopefully this helps more people just have much more fun time on the water.
That's it. Cool. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul.